Manga and anime are mediums that aren't really afraid to go into some really weird areas. It almost seems as though you can put two random things together and make an absolute hit. You don't really have to worry about much there. Really, just think about it. You've got a heavy-duty appliance that's made for like some really hard work, and then an everyday person. What do you get? Chainsaw Man. Pretty self-explanatory, and its title and idea are right in its name. What the author chooses to do from here with the story is all in their hands. Yeah, and there's really no limits to what it can do. So imagine putting this same concept to a mode of transport and a weapon. That's easy. Maybe like Mustang machine gun, rocket Apache. Yeah, you can think about those all day, every day. But what about one that you really wouldn't think about? Like one that works only in concept. And let me tell you, it does work, because it's about a wheelchair that's a tank. Hi y'all, I'm Bayfund, and today I wanted to share with you some more series that are just coming out that are being serialized right now. They only have a few chapters out, and they have serious potential. And this time I made sure to be at least a little bit more varied in the types of manga that I'm gonna be talking about. So without further ado, let's talk about our first series on our list here, Tank Chair, which is pretty self-explanatory as the name suggests. We follow in this series a sibling pair, Shizuka and Nagi. And we first find them as Shizuka is going to the hospital to meet up with her brother, who, for reasons unknown to us at the time, is in a vegetative state. But for whatever reason, when he detects killing intent, he goes berserk and he wakes up from this state. And to be honest, I don't know why he does this. Maybe they're gonna explain it later on in a further chapter or whatever. All that does matter is that what comes from this is pretty badass. Cause you see, these siblings, they aren't just normal, everyday, like slice of life siblings, you know? No, these siblings are trained assassins. So this is where the killing intent really comes in. So you better strap yourself in for a brutal and gory story, and by God, it is gorgeous. On this channel, I rarely talk about things that are seinen or shonen or pretty much action in general. I'm almost always focused in on the romance genre. But something about this series just draws me in. This is kind of like a cyberpunk world, more emphasis on the punk aspect of it. And this like dark tone to it doesn't mean that the entire like series is like dark, heavy, depressing. It's not like that at all. It's more of in-your-face action. And it's not really taking itself seriously at all. I mean, if you look at the villain in the first chapter, it's a goddamn ape. It pulls you in because of how well done these fights are. I mean, the guy's wheelchair is a fucking tank. So let your imagination run wild from there. Do you want to see splash pages of just people's heads exploding? Well, you can get it right here. Can't really show it here on the channel because it might get demonetized, but you know, I can show you like the next best thing. The way that this is done actually reminds me a lot of Western comics. Yeah, something akin to what would be made by Dark Horse even. And I'm absolutely loving its vibe. Currently with only like 6 or 7 chapters translated so far, you can tell that they're building up to something pretty big here. There is this lore that's like happening in the background, which is kind of based off like a school of assassins, a hierarchy that's really similar to like something you could find on Kill la Kill. The whole shebang is there. And I'm sure that if this continues in its popularity, it's gonna be pretty big and fantastic even. I'm thrilled to see what this adventure is gonna hold for these siblings. Maybe they're actually gonna be able to complete their goals and save Nagi from, you know, the situation that he finds himself in. Or maybe not, and we're gonna have villain of the week until the end of the series, but regardless, I'm gonna keep an eye on this one. Next up on our list of manga here is I Wanna Do Bad Things With You, which is 100% not as provocative as that title leads you to believe. This is the next in line and latest and greatest rom-coms, where we get none other than just 2 lovable losers on their quest to just be absolute nuisances. We follow Fuji and Mamori as they are essentially just trying to say big F you to the whole school system and to Fuji-kun's younger brother, all while having an absolute blast. Of course, I had to do a 180 and talk about romance mangas because it's what I like the most. So here in this series, you've got a dynamic that isn't really seen too much in romances, where it's like, you know, the leader and their minion. But that situation is definitely not as clear-cut or as bad as I just put it out to be. Because you see, Fuji, our male MC, is this guy that is an outcast. Due to like a number of factors here, he is a sickly kid, his brother is a shit ton more popular than he is, and he lacks a lot of social skills, I think. So he has this mentality that's very pessimistic to the people around him. So he decides to put matters in his own hands to basically get back at the people that have wronged him. And while doing his usual mischief, Mamori meets him. She's our female MC. She's also an outcast in her own right, but in her case, it's more that she's like awkward and kind of can't talk to people all too well. She sees the confidence that Fuji has in himself, and she gets reminded of the stories that she used to read when she was a kid, how she liked that mischievous bad guy that always tried their best. And she decides that she wants to help this guy as he leads on his own mission, of course. Now in this series, all the bad stuff that they're doing, it isn't all too bad. I mean, they're still in high school, so they're being kind of just inconveniences for the people that are around them. Things like draining the school pool so that kids don't have to swim in the pool anymore, or making Mamori into this gorgeous beauty so that they can prank the guys. Essentially, all they're doing is making a hard time for situations and people that are unfair. So to be completely honest with you, I think they're just having the best of times in high school. I think that the series over here has some very good interactions with its characters. Mamori finding little things about Fuji is cute to see, and I'm very entertained in seeing just which way Fuji's plans are gonna go. In terms of its writing and its structure, I think it's done really well too, because the romance hasn't been like really in our face as of yet. Mainly because it's only one-sided so far. They've only just met, and I'm pretty sure that Fuji is gonna end up being one of those incredibly dense protagonists. But you know what they say, we'll get there when we get there. Eventually, he'll see and he'll realize the situation, and I can only see this manga becoming fluffier and more romantic as it goes on. So even though I'm already invested, I can see myself becoming even more so as it keeps going on. Right now, it seems like our main antagonist is gonna be Fuji's brother, because that young, perfect prince kind of guy seems like he's gonna be complete douche. So I really hope whichever way the story goes, he gets taken down a peg. I'm gonna be reading this because I wanna see just where their misadventures are gonna lead to. And finally, on our list of new mangas that have been coming out, we've got Damedal, the useless idol and her only fan in the world. Which, in this one, we follow Unumin, who is an idol that is frankly pretty shit at her job. She can't sing, she can't dance, and her stage presence is absolutely abysmal. But some way, somehow, she managed to acquire one singular fan. A guy that's known as Otaku for the first couple chapters because he hasn't given a name for quite a bit. And then with this, you would pretty much expect that with a normal idol, he'd be absolutely gushing over her, but he more so likes to tease her and really like point out her flaws. Thus leading to some nice comedic moments in this pretty simple manga. Damedal, unlike the other two manga that I've been talking about, isn't one that is like serialized in a big magazine or something like that. This is kind of like a Twitter release kind of event thingy, which, don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore. I can't tell you the amount of times that there's been a manga that starts off on Twitter and then evolves into something greater, and that's exactly what I expect from this one over here. The way that these characters talk to one another, you can really tell that they were absolutely made for each other. Urumin is this tsundere with like a snarky attitude. Most of the time, it doesn't really hit her that she's not as good as the rest of the people in her group. So, you know, Otaku's always there to take her down a peg or two. Their chemistry is something that's not just seen by, like, us, the reader, but also, like, side characters that only show up for a few pages or so. Because whenever they come for, let's say, a random meetup where they were made to meet up with Urumin, they realize that they can't really make any conversation with her. Urumin's personality of being a tsundere means that she can sometimes be a little bit mean. And the only person that can really handle that is the Otaku. And the other characters don't really seem to mind because they love seeing these two interact. So I guess it's a win-win there. The story is sweet and simple. I recommend this to absolutely everyone because you don't need any like real context to jump into it. If you want something that's gonna be a palate cleanser to like, let's say Tank Chair, here you go. Because you can get a pretty good laugh from this and just relax from everything for a little bit as you're reading it. So yeah, I think this one is definitely worth taking a look at as well. So yeah, I definitely think that this one is worth taking a look at. And with this, I think that wraps up this installment of new mangas that are currently being serialized. If you've already read some of these, or maybe this video is making you want to read some, please let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, I was Bayfont. I'll see you guys next time, but till then, peace.